What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Moote Points podcast. Thank you for listening. I'm Brian Moote, as always with my brother, co-host Patrick Moote. And we have a very special series kicking off today.
Very special stuff.
It's going to be every other episode of the podcast. We're doing like this. It's like old school radio we're doing now.
Doing serial.
Yeah, kind of. It's going to be an episodic series about one
War of
story.
the World stuff. Well, not really.
Game-changing
Yes.
podcast radio.
It's a series. We're doing a series.
So every other episode, we're going to do something called Brewvolution. And what it is, well, Pat, let you explain. What is Brewvolution? Okay. Explain to people what Brewvolution is so they know what to expect every week. Because this is going to be really funny, and we're going to add different characters. We'll have other people come in and read parts of the script. So essentially, we're reading a script Pat wrote 8 or 9 years ago about the American Revolution, and it's called Brewvolution. Pat, explain to him the concept of your movie.
Basically, it is about how beer started the Revolutionary
War.
Drunken
Not so much
revolutionaries.
It wasn't started over beer. It was started because people were getting hammered.
And I don't want to spoil it, but they do have a particular beer that they make that gets them so drunk that they become like really awesome.
The original IPA.
Oh yeah, the original IPA. The very first one.
So how did you come up with this idea? Because basically the premise is that beer and drunkenness started the revolution, and we're not gonna get into the plot line yet.
It made the colonialists like just real sassy, and they get all drunk and be like colonials.
Is it called the colonialists?
See, this is where we're gonna
or the colonists.
Colonists.
I believe it's the colonists. Is the word you're looking for.
I did a lot of research about this, but my brain doesn't retain information.
You don't remember
the
colonialists?
The colonial. I think they're.
It's colonists, bro.
Colonists.
From the colonies.
They're colonial.
From the colonial times.
Colonial people.
You're struggling with just your grasp of tense on words.
I'm a writer.
So every week on this episode of the podcast, we are going to essentially read 13 pages. How many pages is this entire script?
Okay, so here's the thing. It's a period comedy. So it would be kind of in line with like Robin Hood Men in Tights, so it's a comedy that is based on real historical stuff. Not that Robin Hood Men in Tights is. Robin Hood's not.
No,
real.
I mean, that was a fake story. But what you're saying is, and I know this for a fact. It
takes place in the past, and it's a comedy.
It takes place during the Revolution.
Yeah, and
leading up to the Revolution, after the Revolution, and during.
It would be a 138-minute film, which means it would be 2 hours.
Just as I was done,
I can't even do the math it would be over 2 hours.
Just as I was done making fun of you for the colonist debate, you said 138 minutes, and I was like, an hour and a half. Nope, that's 90 minutes.
Yeah,
120 minutes
is 2 hours.
2 hours, so it's 2 hours and 18 minutes.
So it's 2 hours and 18. It would be the longest comedy.
But let me explain to people listening. You really need to understand the depths of the historical research Patrick did for this script.
After it.
So I was living in Boston in graduate school, and he came out to visit me during St. Patty's Day of the last year I was there. And St. Patrick's Day in Boston is unbelievable.
Dope.
It's lit. We were drinking on the train down there. People were just passing around.
We were taking Irish car bombs in your dorm room at Boston College at like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah. I mean, then there's
your goal was to get me just absolutely plastered.
The parade in Southie is a spectacle all itself. I mean, it's the oldest Irish St. Patty's Day parade in the country, I believe. I don't know if it's continuous though, because there's been years in Boston where things weren't going down like they should. Mm-hmm. Bosworth, you're perfect. You laid right on my headphone cables. That's amazing of you. Every week.
Great.
Every week. You got to blow.
Like it.
I don't understand these dogs, man.
Yeah, well.
I don't want to yell at you because I don't want to have to cut it out of the podcast and people think I'm a monster when I yell at you. But I just get so close to snapping on them and the birds. It's like we gave them treats. We put them on the couch. And then
Took him outside.
First thing Bosworth does, comes off the couch, comes out, and lays on my headphone cables and pulls my head about 6 inches closer to the floor. It's like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah. He's ruining it. He's being the worst.
So
he's acting like a real Brit.
So we are. Don't even. I'm not even going to dignify that with acknowledging it.
Hey, man, this is what it's all about.
So we go down to Boston, in the South Boston on Broadway in Southie, and people are just. It's open container. It's not, but it is. Everyone's just drinking just out of whiskey bottles. We go to some of the old, most famous Irish pubs down there. The Black Rose, like all these crazy L Street pub, all these crazy Irish bars. And this is the only day of the year you can go to those Irish bars and not be from Southie. Otherwise, you go to those Irish bars and you walk in, it's like a record. It's like, people are like a guy like name Mick or Smalls is
He's
like,
how do you like them
yeah,
apples?
what are you doing here, kid?
Yeah, but you're bad. This isn't your bad.
Or even worse,
Get
an
your
Irish
car.
accent.
Yeah.
I learned I hated Irish people by living in Boston, and that's our heritage is Irish. And I used to go and I used to do comedy shows in front of Irish people in Boston, and I would just on stage I just denounce being Irish, and I'd be like, I know why my family left. You guys are just a country of just morons, a country of morons, of drunken morons, and they'd laugh at it. They thought it was funny. So what we're gonna do? I didn't finish explaining to you how accurate this is. When Pat was in Boston. He just did every tour there was.
Yep.
All through the city, down to the Boston Tea Party, the Harbor,
Bunker
out
Hill.
into Bunker Hill, Charlestown, and then up into Cambridge, and then
Where all the colonialists.
when I moved to LA, Patrick had this like 8-foot by 6-foot whiteboard with the entire state of Massachusetts drawn on it in like to scale almost, and
to scale.
well, you know what I mean, just like
Sure.
accurate, like accurately
Oh,
drawn.
it was actually. I spent hours and hours and hours drawing
mapping
that thing.
out like everybody, like Paul Revere's ride.
Yeah.
Because the people in
had
this script are the same. They're historical
Yes.
figures.
So there's like 4 main characters who are fictional, and then the rest of the people who come in are all Sam Adams. I can't even remember some of the names.
Well, we're gonna find out, 'cause
Joseph something. Paul Revere.
yeah, I mean all the big hits.
Oh, yeah, all
and,
the big
it
guys.
covers and every single historical event
Fathers
in,
of Democracy.
in
dog.
time. In real time for that period is highlighted, but it's all they were drunk, and that's how the story goes.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna read 13 pages per episode. I know that sounds like we're not gonna read a lot, but we're not gonna read through the entire thing because clearly we're gonna have to make fun of this because he wrote it 8 years ago and he hasn't read through it yet.
I don't remember what exactly happens. I know that it does. It is going to wander an awful lot between really, really comedic and really, really dark and like dramatic. Like sometimes the Patriot would come out and it's like, this story has to be told. It has to.
Right.
And then all of a
I don't
sudden I
wanna
get way
make a
serious.
mockery of America.
And then all of a sudden like people are getting their heads blown off and like, I mean, it goes there.
Yeah, it's silly, and you haven't read through this at all, right? Like
I read
you
the first like 20 pages just to make sure it wasn't incoherent.
And as we go, as we get into episodes, we're gonna have guests on the show to read other parts and other characters.
I mean, it is a whole kind of
It's
just retelling of how the Revolutionary War started, and all the way from like the Boston Massacre, all the way to like the Declaration of Independence.
Okay, so how did you come up with this idea though? Because that
I was drunk.
Oh, well, yeah, clearly, but like what? So what was the? Will that give away the plot line if you think
will
about it?
give away, yeah. Because there is one moment that we can talk about when we get to it, where I was like, how funny would it be if this happened because they were hammered?
Right. Okay.
And then they wake up the next morning and it's like the hangover where they're like, oh my God, like what did we do? What happened last night? And it's like they started a war.
Yeah, wartime. I'm already reading the first page, the first like sentence, and it made me laugh already,
All right.
just because
So
of how deep. And you're gonna and sound effects will be involved. We're gonna have sound effects. We're gonna have
some good
some
post-production.
dramatic music.
Yeah.
All right. So you got me. You highlighted my characters, right?
Yes. So Brian will be reading most of the main characters, and I'll be doing most of the scene description.
Oh, okay.
And some of the other smaller characters.
All right, Patrick. Let's kick this off.
All right, ready to go?
Brewvolution.
Brewvolution.
Get ready for the ride of your life on a podcast.
Brewvolution by Patrick Moote, based on the way it probably happened.
Clever. I
Thank
like
you.
that.
Yeah.
And you bolded probably.
I know.
Like as a joke. The joke is it didn't really happen.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what
kind
I
of
mean.
like a ba-dum-tsh when you're writing.
But odds are people were pretty drunk when they were doing this stuff because
Yeah,
there were a
sure.
bunch of booze bags back there
Yeah.
always. And I'm sure it wasn't any different back in 18 whatever.
That's right.
17,
whatever.
17.
I don't even remember.
17,
what year these
probably
things are.
70.
I think there's some dates in here.
we'll
get to
find
one.
out.
Yeah, we'll find out in a second. Okay, so here we go. Exterior, forest, day. A large elk stands in the quiet, misty forest. Its ears twitch, scanning the surrounding area. Patrick Thomas, late 20s. A European man with curly hair dressed in traditional Mohawk Indian clothing trots silently across the forest floor. He's followed closely by 2 Mohawk warriors, Bob and Harry.
Those are really traditional Mohawk names.
Hey, man.
Did you put any effort into that, or is that the joke? Bob and Harry are
that's
just like
kind of the joke.
dudes from the neighborhood.
Bob and Harry, man.
Bob
I don't
and
know.
Harry.
I tried to Google
Running-
traditional Mohawk names, and they just sounded like I was being
Running Bob
racist.
and Harry
let's
Wolf.
See. Yeah, see, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to.
I mean, it does sound super racist.
It does.
Here's so one time we were driving in an Indian reservation in the Pacific Northwest, right? We're getting fireworks. That's where you get fireworks fireworks in the Pacific Northwest because they're kind of illegal everywhere else. So you got to go to the reservation. We go to the reservation, we're driving, and there's a bunch of signs that say, like, please don't drink and drive in memory of, like, Larry Henderson. And then the next one's in memory of, like, Dave Smith. And the next one was, like, in memory of like, all these white names, right? And my buddy was like, dude, why are all these white people like killing themselves out here driving? Don't Native Americans? I'm like, dude, these are Native Americans. They have real names now. They don't put
Chief
on like
driving drunk, you idiot.
Chief running bear,
Dumbass.
you moron. That's not how it works. So I'll take it. You were trying to be, you know what? You weren't trying to be. What's it called? You weren't cultural
appropriation.
Appropriation.
Yes,
you were cultural appropriate.
Shout out to Killian Moote.
You were culturally appropriate.
I was culturally appropriate, and it's for the joke. It's like, Bob and Harry.
Bob and Harry.
Why not?
The
Why
two
not?
warriors.
Let's not be
Mohawk
stereotypical.
warriors.
They can be Bob and Harry.
Okay.
So the elk spins around to
Wait,
face.
hold on. Are Mohawk Native Americans the Native Americans that are up in that area?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yes, they are. That is culturally appropriate. Accurate.
Well, you know why I'm asking, because I know the Mohawk.
They were one of the
Mohawk reservations out in like Oklahoma.
See, but that's what they move them out to. They really shitty
and you'll
parts.
never realize
that's why it was
when
bullshit.
you drive through Oklahoma and you see that
that state sucks.
like
Bag of dicks.
the Seminole reservation is in Oklahoma.
Crazy.
And the Seminoles were like a Florida tribe. You finally realize
Deep Florida.
You finally realize how pissed off they are, and you're like, dude, you're right.
They were like living in Boca Raton, and then they had to go up to the Panhandle of stupid
sucks.
Oklahoma.
All right, sorry. Okay, then what does the elk do? The elk does something.
Okay, we're back. The elk spins around to face Patrick, and the other men stop immediately. Patrick and the great beast are locked in a stare. Patrick.
Brother Elk, please forgive me.
In one swift move, Patrick whips the musket slung over his shoulder. Uh-oh. Okay.
Why are you having trouble reading?
Okay,
I
it's
can
my
read
own
this.
script. No, I got it. In one swift move.
Why are you trying? Don't edit on the fly. I feel like you're trying to edit on the fly. You read it, typos and everything.
All right,
you read it as written, Patrick.
Son of a bitch. All right. In one swift move, Patrick whips the musket slung over his shoulder back to his shoulder and drops to one knee. He fires at the elk. When the powder smoke clears, the elk stands on the other side, staring at him blankly.
All right, hold on. We're gonna have to. You need better narrator. You need better narrator cadence. Here we go. Here, let me do that last one. Let me do this one first. I'll do this one, and then you do the next one.
All right.
I'll do We'll go back to the first one.
I'm incredibly frustrated.
In one swift move, Patrick whips the musket slung over his back to his shoulder and drops to a knee. He fires at the elk. See?
Yeah.
Take
Okay.
some
I also can't read. That's part of.
Well, that's a family thing.
I'm a writer who can't read.
Take some pride. Take some pride. Slow down. We got all day to read. We got 13 pages.
All right. When the powder smoke clears, the elk stands on the other side, staring at him blankly.
Yep.
Patrick quickly loads his musket and takes aim for another shot. He fires and misses a second time. The elk blinks.
What the hell?
Patrick loads his musket and takes several steps forward. He fires again and waits. The elk is unharmed.
You can't be serious.
Patrick tosses the musket off to the side and pulls a tiny knife from his boot.
Hold still, brother elk.
Patrick takes a deep breath and approaches the fearless animal. The elk watches him approach calmly. Bob and Harry watch and react to the sounds of a man fighting a male elk. Okay, and also, Bob and Harry will be speaking in Mohawk. Their words, as we say them, will be in English, but
okay, but in real life,
it'll be subtitled.
Okay,
and Patrick doesn't speak Mohawk.
Okay, so Bob and Harry are just talking.
So they're just talking
mad trash.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And are you reading the characters of
Bob?
I'm
I'm reading Bob, and you're reading Harry.
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure people don't get confused.
Sure. Okay. Bob and Harry watch and react to the sounds of a man fighting a male elk. Bob. Should we tell him his musket is broken?
Did you really just do that? Like
I tried not to. I was just trying to do a different voice.
So racist.
I didn't mean to.
You culturally.
That was an accident.
You culturally appropriated.
That was an accident.
So hard.
That was
okay, we'll let it go.
We'll go. Well,
can I read it like a watch?
Should we tell him his musket is broken?
One more hunting trip, then I'll tell him. I swear.
Isn't that buffalo season?
Bingo!
Bob and Harry continue to watch for a few moments as the sounds of Patrick killing the elk can be heard. Patrick walks up to Bob and Harry. He is bloody, and his clothes have been torn up.
Oh, God. Those things are strong. I mean, like, orangutan strong. The horns are really unfair, too. I need a bigger knife, guys.
Congratulations on a successful hunt, Brother Patrick.
Oh, did I do that? Wait, hold on a second. Where am I?
You got a hairy line coming up.
Wait. Oh, no. What did I...
We're on page 2.
Why did I just decide to go to the next page all of a sudden?
I'm not sure.
All right. What did you say? Congratulations. Okay.
You do it again. Let's see. No, I don't know.
Oh, congratulations on a successful hunt, Brother Patrick. And then I'm Harry, and I come in with Brother Elk has given himself up to us, so we can prosper, and we thank him.
Patrick attempts to speak the very complex native language.
So should I struggle with this one?
No, be confident.
I want to drink from the bosom of Brother Elk.
Harry cracks a smile. What the hell did he just say?
I told him that he just said, what he just said is a statement with dual meanings. He thinks it means thank you, I'm sorry, and what did you say? I want to drink from the bosom of Brother Elk. I feel like we need to tell people that I'm Patrick again. All right, I'll just read that.
Yeah, you got to do voices.
Well, I can't. It's hard. You have two native characters right out the gates, and if you do the voice, it's racist, and you already fell down that rabbit hole. I'm not doing it.
Can we do them with accents? Maybe they're like Canadian.
All right, let's do Canadian.
Okay, they're Canadian.
They're French Canadian natives.
Oh, okay.
That was like North Dakota.
I don't know how to do French Canadian, so I'm going to do North Dakota. Well, make him shut up, please, Harry.
At least admit you think it's funny. I want to drink from the breast of Brother Elk.
Bob finally cracks a smile. Fine, it's funny.
This is Patrick again. I want to...
Harry quickly quiets him. Please just shut up. Just stop talking.
Shut your mouth.
Interior, Longhouse, night.
Okay, so hold on.
Yes.
One quick question.
Yes.
What is this? This whole scene is setting up. Is Patrick the main character here?
Patrick is the main character.
Okay.
Of course he's the main character.
But is he,
what a
but
handsome
Patrick,
name.
Patrick's a fictional character. So
yes.
This whole first scene just sets up what? That
It's-
he's living with the natives.
It's one of these things where it's literally...
So did you start this with Dancing with Wolves in your
I started
mind?
it with Last of the Mohicans. Where he slings the gun and he shoots, but he kills it.
So you just ripped off Daniel Day-Lewis?
Ripped it off.
You really just think you're Daniel Day-Lewis in this
I
whole
was wondering if you were going... I was going to bring that up at some point, but I wondered if you would catch on to it.
Oh, I caught on.
That's exactly
You are so
what it is.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
That's
Okay,
exactly
so now we established this
So
main character.
This is broad comedy.
This main character Patrick is now for reasons we don't know yet.
For reasons we will never really know. He's living
we
with
know
the
it's
Native
because you
Americans.
really
It's
had
because I
trouble
really like-
envisioning like Massachusetts stuff.
Well, and I'm a big fan of Last of the Mohicans. It's
Right.
a great film.
So Now we're in a
So
longhouse.
now we're in the
we're done
longhouse.
with that the hunt,
Yes.
and we're in a longhouse.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm still Patrick. So when you hear my voice, everybody, I'm Patrick.
he's
When you
Patrick.
hear me doing some sort of Canadian hybrid North Dakota, then I'm definitely a Native American.
Yeah. And there'll be other characters that you're reading to, and a lot of them are more obvious than like and easier to be less racist.
Just making sure.
Unless it's English,
Listen,
because
we
we can
can't-
rip those English to pieces.
I don't give.
The spot of tea, Governor.
I don't give a fuck. A crumpet, can I get-
Yeah, they're idiots. Okay, so now we're back. Interior, Longhouse night. A fire in the middle of the long rectangular building is surrounded by a cluster of dozens of Mohawk men and women. The chief's daughter, 20, lays on her back near a fire with a blanket over her legs. A medicine man stands over her, repeating a ritual continuously. Patrick is on the other side of the fire next to Bob and Harry watching the action.
This is exciting.
You're a pale-skinned devil who's worth no more than the clothes on your back.
I know, right? I get it. Oh, I hate you. That was my Canadian accent for
Patrick pats him on the back.
Thanks, buddy.
Silence falls over the room as the chief's daughter begins to cry out in agony. Everyone waits in anticipation as the medicine man delivers the baby. A baby's cries can be heard coming from under the blanket. The medicine man removes the baby from under the blanket and everyone gasps.
Oh, shit!
Reveal the baby. It has white skin and curly hair just like Patrick.
Ooh, that's bad.
Everyone in the room stares at the baby and then looks at Patrick.
And I say in Mohawk, apologetically, I want to drink from the bosom of... I gotta say apologetically. I want to drink from the bosom of Brother Elk.
The chief's daughter looks at Patrick and smiles. I know he's stupid, but I love him. Patrick chuckles and shrugs. Exterior, forest night.
Now we cut to Forest Night.
Yeah, that's right. Exterior, forest night. Patrick runs deftly through the forest. This time he's being followed by an angry crowd of Mohawks.
So they were none too pleased.
None too pleased
with Patty knocking up
Hey,
the
man,
chief's
you
daughter.
know what? Honestly, that's culturally accurate, too, because all we did was just, come in there and just start messing stuff up for them, so...
I mean, consensually, though, so it wasn't... this is
No,
a
she
little
loved
bit-
him. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
very much, very Last of the Mohicans.
Just making sure.
Very Pocahontas.
Just making sure.
Sure,
Okay.
I used Pocahontas.
So
to
now
really
Patrick is
slow
running
down.
through the woods,
Yes.
being chased by angry Mohawk
Cut
natives.
to Exterior, Boston Harbor, day. Title card reads Boston, Massachusetts, summer, 1773.
So this is cut 2. So let's fast forward a little bit.
We're cutting ahead a couple years.
Okay, cool. All right, here we go.
Large British ships dominate the busy harbor, while workers mill about the docks, loading and unloading cargo from ships. Exterior, streets of Boston, day. The streets of early colonial Boston are crowded with an interesting mix of plainly dressed colonial settlers and pompous, uptight British aristocrats.
Those douches.
Dickheads. Patrick passes an open-air market and scans the busy streets with a look of familiarity. He rounds a corner and stops.
Hey, can we play a game?
Yeah.
Can I guess which movie that you completely ripped this whole visual
Sure,
out of?
yes.
I kind of get it.
There's going to be a billion of them.
And if you get one, tweet at us at Moote Points
And if you get a historical inaccuracy, please hit us up
hashtag
too.
Brewvolution.
Hashtag Brewvolution.
Brewvolution.
I challenge
BREWVOLUTION.
I challenge you to find any problems with this historically.
All right.
It's perfect.
Patrick rounds the corner and stops.
Oh,
shit, that's bad.
Patrick stands in front of a building. Its windows have been boarded up, and a weathered sign reads, "The Thomas Taproom," hangs over the door. Interior, Thomas Taproom, day. Inside the old taproom is dark and dusty. There's a bar running down one side with a row of wooden tables running down the other side. Along the back wall, there are 2 stairways that lead up to the second story in the basement, and an open door to the kitchen. The front door falls off the hinges with a loud crash. Lights flood the room. Patrick stands on the other side of the dusty entrance. Slowly, he walks into the abandoned building and looks around. He sees what appears to be a man slumped over the bar.
Street gangs of New York. A little bit. Little bit of
There's
gangs of New York.
There's going to be a lot of that in here.
Hello? Uncle Killian? Creative. You're using our other brother's name?
Yeah.
Is there a Brian in here? If there's not, I'm going to be so pissed off.
There might not be.
Oh my. Get out of here.
I don't remember.
You wrote Killian into the script and not me?
There
You
must be a
son of
Brian. There
bitch.
must be a Brian.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see. Countdown to me being
Killian's a better name.
enraged at
It's
you.
a great name. It's more...
Hello, Uncle Killian?
The body bent over the bar remains motionless. Patrick makes his way slowly toward the body.
Are you all right?
Patrick touches the man on the back. He pulls on the man's shoulder, lifting his head off the bar. It's made of burlap with a smiley face painted on it. Patrick spins around quickly and scans the bar. It has been filled with similar scarecrow-type dummies. Just then, a musket blast blows off the head of the dummy in Patrick's hand.
Oh, your new character. We got a new character, Finnegan, from behind the bar.
I have to do Irish. He's supposed to be Irish.
You dirty bastard.
You dirty Brit bastard. Leave my customers alone and get out of here.
What customers?
The one I just killed. You're next if you don't get out of my bar.
Uncle Killian?
Patrick turns around to find Finnegan O'Toole, 30s, an Irish immigrant with a serious drinking problem, standing behind the bar. Patrick, you come back.
Finnegan?
Master Thomas, you came home. Well, praise the sweet Virgin Mother. Finnegan quickly scampers over the bar and embraces Patrick.
Finnegan, how are you? I'm sniffing.
Yeah, we got it.
Holy hell, you smell awful.
Oh, I've been a bit of a...
Hold on, let me do it again.
Yeah,
Holy hell, you smell awful.
nice.
It's way better acting.
I've been a bit of a mess lately. Not much for hygiene these days.
What happened here, man? Where's my uncle?
The smile fades from Finnegan's face as he grabs the mug from behind the bar and begins to drink from it.
Finnegan? Where is he?
I don't want to have to tell you this. I thought you would have heard by now. I tried to send word to you, but you disappeared. Not even your uncle knew how to contact you.
Far and away. I
Yeah.
feel like you're taking some of
yeah.
those dog fights, some
Sure.
of those surly bastards.
Yeah.
Finnegan, what happened to him?
Finnegan sighs and sips his beer. Fade 2. Exterior, Boston City Center, night, flashback. A crowd of angry colonialists.
What was that?
Colonialists?
Angry what?
Colonists?
Colonists, dummy.
Colonists. Oh,
I
yeah,
don't even
that
think
is
you're
what that
using the right word here.
I don't think- I think I
you
wrote
spelled
the
it
wrong-
colonialist,
I
but
did.
that is definitely not how you spell. Hold on, let me look up how you spell colonist.
son of a
Why?
bitch.
Did you Google anything? How are you so historically?
I was really busy doing,
How
like
are you
my due diligence.
So
with the,
historically accurate.
grammatically has nothing to do with history.
Historical. Oh man, you spelled this way wrong.
What do we got here? How
It's
do I
supposed. Okay, you.
COLONIALIST.
Colonialist. It's spelled COLONIST. Colonists. They live in colonies. They don't live in colonials. What is wrong? Did your computer not have spells?
No, it did. I just thought
Did
that
you do this on a typewriter?
I just thought that it was. I just thought it was wrong. I just thought the computer was wrong.
You're gonna struggle
I thought spell check
every
was-
single time. Angry colonialist. You know what? Just say colonialist.
I think I keep saying it throughout the entire thing.
Right, and I'll just laugh every time.
I did
Okay.
not do the right.
Get back.
I didn't do the right kind of research. I did the right kind of research.
Okay, what are these?
Who gives a shit?
Listen,
Everybody
what do
knows
these angry colonialists do? Okay, we need to get back to it.
We're
This is
getting-
very important. I feel like this is where we're at a breaking point. This is a very important part for the movie here.
This is a little point in history called the Boston Massacre.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. We're leading up to it.
Yep.
Historical things that are
A
accurate.
crowd of angry colonists stand in the Boston city center. Between them and the entrance of the State House is fully armed regiment of British regulars.
Dun dun dun.
Killian Thomas, 50s, an Irish immigrant with an intense look of purpose, leads Finnegan through the crowd.
Still mad Brian's not in this yet.
Signs stick up from the mob. He might be like a bad guy.
You son of a bitch.
I can't remember. I can't remember.
All right, fine.
Signs stick up from the mob with statements like, "Take your fish and chips and go home," or "Join or die," and "God hates crumpet munchers."
I like it. You got two that were like kind of, you got one from the Westboro Baptist Church, God hates crumpet munchers, and the other one's "Take your fish and chips and go home." That's just probably some angry racist people. But then "Join or die," I don't really know.
That's actually a real one, I think, that they had. That was
really
one,
join or die. I mean, I guess what you'd say.
That's and I
to
don't
traitors.
traitors,
To traitors.
you dirty traitors. Okay. And God hates crumpet munchers. An occasional snowball or oyster shell flies from the crowd and flies towards the nervous
Oyster
British
shell?
regiment. Dude, that's what they were throwing.
Are you? That's a real thing.
That's what they were throwing.
Okay, all right. Hey,
Dude,
listen.
somebody come at me.
Yeah, hey,
Come
somebody
at me with
fact check
facts.
that oyster,
Come at me.
oyster shot.
Right here.
After they took a nice oyster shot and
Yeah.
they winged
Hey,
the
man.
show.
There's some big ones. They didn't get the good, nice little ones that are all briny and delicious. They got those big, ugly ones. Okay. Killian looks at a younger, cleaner version of Finnegan who stares at him admiringly.
Oh, this is me.
Yes, it is.
Is he Irish?
Sure.
Oh, he is. The one thing in this world that no man, woman, or child should ever be denied is their freedom. But it is not something that does not come cheap. You have to make sacrifices. You have to be willing to fight and maybe even die for it. But once you have it, no one can take it away from you. Hold my beer while I go throw snowballs.
Killian grabs.
I really just tanked that snowballs
That's
one.
such a good
God,
joke
I was doing
there.
pretty good.
It's a
though.
good joke there.
I tanked the
Because
line
he's
because I was
like-
worried about the accent.
But he's doing like a huge pump up
Right,
speech,
right,
and then
right.
he's like, "Now hold my beer while I go through
All right,
snowballs."
let me try to get
Yeah.
No one can take it away from you. Now hold my beer. I'm gonna go throw snowballs.
Yeah, there you go. Killian grabs a snowball from the pile on the ground in front of them and disappears into the crowd. Finnegan looks down at the pile of snowballs and nods. As the mob increases in size, the British regulars clutch their primed muskets with white knuckles. A British officer stands behind the regiment.
Hold fast, men. Be ready to fire. That was a really bad British accent.
He
But
sounded like a dick, though, so it kind of worked.
yeah, he did sound pompous.
Yeah.
Hold fast, men. He's kind of a little Frenchy.
Yeah.
Be ready to fire.
Perfect. A snowball-sized rock flies from the crowd and hits a young soldier in the head. The officer looks at his soldier laying on the ground, then back to the fairly peaceful crowd.
Fire on them.
The regulars look at one another nervously. The regiment opens fire. One deafening explosion of musket balls and powder smoke. The angry mob erupts in panic. Finnegan makes his way through the crowd of people.
That's you,
Killian,
buddy. You're Finnegan. Come on, get your act together. You wrote this thing.
Finnegan looks towards the front of the crowd and stops. No! As the smoke clears and bodies...
I feel like Killian's gonna be dead.
As the smoke and Brian, come
Did
on!
you kill him off?
As the smoke and bodies clear, Killian can be seen laying on his back, staring lifelessly at the sky. There's a gaping musket ball wound to his chest.
Mom's gonna be so pissed. You killed the youngest brother. You killed your youngest brother off.
Hey,
Killing
so
him.
you glad I'm still worried that I didn't write in the script yet?
I mean, I'm still a little pissed off about it, but
You're
I guess
your
I gotta-
character's more like the bad guy from The Patriot.
Oh, I love that guy.
He's a piece of shit.
Yeah, that guy's there, but that guy's in the whole movie.
All right,
Okay,
so
keep going.
fade out.
Oh, now they're
Boston
fade out. So
Massacre.
they lost that. The massacre is over.
Massacre's over.
So
Yeah.
now they're like, well, I mean, I guess we're still
Yeah.
dead now.
I think it was like maybe 3 years before. Well, never mind. 1770 maybe. I'm gonna guess that. Somebody tweet
What,
at me.
the massacre?
Yeah, when the
I think
Boston
you have
Massacre
it in
happened.
here. In the
1773, but they go back in time. That happened before.
Oh.
So that was a
So
flashback.
they're flashing back to when Killian got
And
killed.
Killian is Patrick's uncle,
Gotcha.
who owned the bar.
Okay, it's all making sense.
There you
now.
go. There
Okay,
you go.
there we
So
go.
fade out. Now we're back to interior, the Thomas Taproom.
Present day.
Patrick sits at the bar in shock. Finnegan's face is racked with pain after having to rehash the tragic story.
They shot him dead in the street just like that?
He wasn't the only one. 5 people were killed that day.
Killians Dead? What about you? What have you been doing the last 3 years? I really turned. I was sad for a second. When I turned that emotion, right?
I really did. I really did not. Really, yeah, he just kind of changed. He sighs and collects himself. Dude, the guy's tough. Hey, well,
what about you?
on.
Killians Dead. What do you? Let's catch up, man. What do you got? You dating anybody? You got any kids? Taking night classes? What are you doing,
Hanging out with dummies in a bar.
That's so ridiculous. All right, let's do it. I'm going to do that whole line again
Okay.
because I really want to embody the character.
Yes.
The character's complete flippantness for the fact that he just found out his uncle was dead.
Do you want me to read the one before it, too? No?
Yeah, do that.
Okay.
I need a lead in. In the business, it's called a lead in.
He wasn't the only one. 5 people were killed that day.
Oh, good work. Stay in that accent.
Thank you.
Killian's dead? What about you, man? How have you been doing these last 3 years?
Drinking a lot. After your uncle was gone, the tap room shut down, and I didn't know what to do. I'm no businessman, and he left it to you. I didn't want to reopen until you came back.
Oh, you really
Oh,
lost
God,
it.
I lost it. I butcher it. I don't know what's
so
wrong with
awful.
me. It's like I have a stroke all of a sudden,
Right.
and I just become some mishmash.
What's Patrick doing?
Patrick looks around the bar at the dummies that have been placed all over.
And who are these guys?
The regulars? Patrick soaks up the awkward situation.
You got any beer? I don't think I need one.
Finnegan smiles.
Because beer is what he's got.
He's
That
got
old
beer.
Finnegan
He's
O'Toole.
a drunk old Irishman. Interior, the Thomas Taproom basement. The dark, damp basement has been converted into a fully functional brewery. Big wooden barrels are scattered along the walls, and a large copper kettle sits in the middle of the room. Finnegan pours a crisp golden stream of liquid into a mug from a tap in a barrel. He turns off the tap and hands the mug to
You
Patrick.
put so much detail into the description right there.
I know.
Thick
Yeah.
stream. Sort of a thick, crispy stream.
You want to know why it's thick? Read on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
All right,
read
hold
on.
Let me get back into character.
There's an explanation.
Let me get back into character.
Okay.
What the hell is this?
Well, we ran out of the traditional ingredients, so I improvised a little. Patrick takes a sip.
Oh, let me take a sip. Wow, that's good.
Oh no, I made it from rotten corn and squash. It's almost free to make.
How did you make rotten taste so good? Honestly, you told me that. My first instinct was to throw it in your face, but I can't because it's so good. I'd probably just try to suck it out of your disgusting beard, which is a really distinct depiction of sucking something out of someone.
Listen. 25-year-old Patrick thinks that's very funny.
It was pretty funny.
It is pretty
It's
funny.
funny. It's funny.
Yeah, I had a beard at the time.
Sucking it out of that beard.
He doesn't actually do it. He's saying that he would.
He would.
That's
Yeah,
why he wouldn't throw it in his
okay,
face. Yeah. Okay. Don't do that.
That was it on that line? Okay.
Oh no. Oh wait. No. I have another line. So suck it out of your beard. Finnegan laughs as he pours himself a beer. Don't do that.
Seriously, Finnegan, this stuff is amazing.
Oh, that's not even the best part.
What's the best part?
It gets you really hammered.
Woohoo! How hammered?
Finnegan smiles at Patrick and takes a monstrous sip of his beer. Interior, the Thomas Taproom, drinking montage. Patrick and
Drinking montage.
Drinking-
Ooh.
gotta have one of
Gotta
those.
Have. So everyone just cheers
we'll put some music in.
Are they
behind this.
cheers
It's
and
just
dummies?
The two of them. Yeah. Patrick and Finnegan dance around the brewery, drinking and having a great time. Finnegan holds Patrick's legs over his head as he takes a long keg stand. Patrick, let's see.
What does Patrick do?
Keg stand. Patrick and Finnegan stare at a portrait of Killian and sob loudly. Killian talks to a dummy at the bar while Patrick...
Finnegan
talks to a dummy at the bar while Patrick dances with the headless dummy in the middle of the room. Patrick holds Finnegan's legs as he takes the long keg stand. Patrick and Finnegan are back at the portrait, sobbing. Interior, the Thomas Taproom, morning. The Taproom.
This
Next
is going to be
day.
the hungover wreckage.
Yep, the Taproom.
This is from the movie Hangover, I bet. You use this as like an inspiration. They'd be laying around with
we
a
got
tiger in there
a
and
way
stuff.
better hangover moment than
All right,
this.
let's go. Okay, let's go.
Interior, Thomas Taproom, morning. The taproom is still and quiet. Patrick lays on the floor, naked, wearing a bonnet and spooning a headless dummy. Finnegan sits on a bar stool, snoring with his eyes closed. The front door smashes to the ground, unleashing a blinding light into the room. Patrick lifts his head, shielding his face.
Turn it off. It's so bright. I hate it. Who's there? What are you doing in here?
Finnegan awakes with a start and falls off his bar stool. Frederick Omagato.
New character. Oh my god.
Omagato.
Oh my god.
Frederick Omagato, late 20s, a well-educated African-American man, steps forward and looks at Patrick on the floor with the dummy. New voice for Frederick.
You're Frederick.
No, you're Frederick.
I'm not highlighted.
You're not highlighted?
No, you're
Yeah,
not.
but you will be after that, so you're supposed to say that anyways.
okay.
I just forgot to highlight it.
Oh man, what voice do I do for Frederick? I was about to ask you the same thing. I was gonna do the like traditional like crappy African voice. No, I'm not gonna do that.
He's a well-educated
All right.
African-American man,
Okay.
Brian.
I didn't
Because those existed
To be honest,
back
I
then.
checked out when you were going through the description.
Yeah.
I was about to ask you the same thing.
Finnegan
I
stands
did
up.
Jerry Seinfeld.
Sure, why not? He's a Jewish black guy in 1773.
What's the deal with the British?
Yeah, why are they always drinking tea in their teeth? Oh, well, I ever heard of a dentist? You know?
Strong, Matt. That's really strong. You should go back to reading the description.
Okay. Finnegan stands up from the floor, rubbing.
No, Patrick stands up awkwardly.
Okay, yeah, we got to start back. Okay. Frederick Omagato, a well-educated African-American man, steps forward and looks at Patrick on the floor with the dummy.
I was about to ask you the same thing.
Patrick stands up awkwardly, using the headless dummy to cover his naked body.
Who are you? My name is Frederick Omagato, and I own half this building.
Finnegan stands up from the floor, rubbing his head. No, you don't. That can't be.
Why is that?
Well, because...
Because what? Because I'm what? Because I'm a what?
Well,
this is a really strong scene.
Well, because you're a Negro. Frederick becomes enraged.
What did you say? Speak up. What's the deal with that? You're not very loud. I can't hear you.
Patrick steps in to restrain Frederick. In the process, he drops the dummy, uncovering his private parts.
That word may be generally accepted by the overall population at this particular period in time, but it's not cool with me. You get that?
Yes, I got it.
I can't hear you.
I said I got it, jeez. Frederick collects himself.
I'm sorry for yelling. It's a sensitive subject.
Suddenly, everyone in the room realizes that Patrick's genitals are completely exposed.
Good joke.
Thank you. Quickly, he pulls the dummy back over himself and hobbles around to the other side of the bar.
So what makes you so sure you own half this business? This does.
Frederick removes a document from his jacket and places it in front of Patrick on the bar. Patrick looks at it.
Well, I'll be a Brit with straight teeth. You do own half. Would you mind if I ask how? Nice dig on the Brits and their teeth. Good thing our British friend Dave isn't here.
Thank you.
The man who owned me dropped dead last week on his way to the theater. I always thought he was a huge codpiece, but in his will he left me his share of this building and my freedom. So basically, he's my favorite white person ever. I mean, what's the deal with that? And I never really liked him till after he was dead.
You botched that joke.
Oh, I should have said, what's the deal with that at the end? I didn't know, man. I'm cold reading this.
Get back. Go back.
Okay.
Take it back.
So basically, he's my favorite white person ever. And I never really liked him till after he was dead. I mean, what's the deal with that?
Finnegan and Patrick look confused. You don't own any of this. Patrick's uncle was the sole owner of this establishment.
Apparently not, my ignorant Iron friend.
Ignorish.
Ignorish? Apparently not, my ignorant Irish friend. He had a partner. And now he has a new partner, me. So where is this uncle of yours? He died. I'm sorry. Well, then who's in charge of this property then? I mean, what's the deal with that?
You're an idiot. I didn't write any of that.
No. Well, I mean, he's Seinfeld. He's Seinfeld black. He's a black Seinfeld.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. I am, which I suppose makes us perfect partners. I suppose it does.
Patrick and Frederick shake hands.
And scene. Chapter 1.
Chapter 1 in the books,
in
people.
the books.
In the books, people.
It's so hilarious how many movies I feel like in your mind you were like almost copying.
I did like a lot of the research when I write scripts is I watch other movies. And when it's a comedy that I'm writing, like, I will always rip them off. Like, I want people to be like, that first scene is from Last of the Mohicans. I'm like, yeah, I know, but he kills an elk with a pocket knife.
Oh, I guess it is a parody.
Yeah, it's parody.
It's a parody. Okay.
It's satire. I'm making fun of it.
You know what? It's hard. When I'm reading it, I feel like I'm reading it from the angle of, like, you really thought this was, like a original thing. No, I mean, it actually becomes brilliant again if you're making fun of all of the characters.
Brian, I'm secret brilliant. Hashtag secret brilliant.
The jury is out on that one. I now have both dogs in my lap because it started pouring rain in the middle of
They're barking at the weather.
And they're barking at the weather.
Barking at the weather.
Because they're both big old
Idiots.
pansies.
Just idiots.
Okay. Well, that is chapter 1, everybody.
Yeah, that's right.
Tweet at us, at MooPoints and at PatMoot, if you found any historical flaws, because he's very proud of his accuracy.
It's pretty accurate.
On this situation.
I do believe, too, that by the end of the next... Yeah, at the end of the next chapter, we will get to the hangover moment / the big moment / what we like to call the inciting incident.
The inciting incident.
Yes, that is the end of the first act. That is a big moment. So you better tune in, otherwise you're going to miss it.
Oh, you better tune in. So every other episode, you guys, Brewvolution, hashtag Brewvolution. We will tweet that out with this episode on Twitter. And I think this is going to be a fun, wild ride.
It's going to be weird. It's going to be weird and wild.
We're going to add more and more sound effects, more and more old school radio theater. Theater. What's the deal with theaters? Now that I own one after my master dropped dead.
Not in love with that.